Most people watch AOT casually, but if you're an expert like me, you've definitely noticed a couple of times where the show secretly revealed the future. Like the secret in this scene that pretty much everybody missed. It all started when Ymir, Historia, Connie, Reiner, and Bertholdt were stuck in the castle tower. They were surrounded by titans, and it seemed like everybody was going to die. Ymir grabbed a knife from Connie, jumped off the tower, and shocked everyone by turning into the Jaw Titan. She fought the titans so ferociously that the tower began to topple. She realized this and jumped onto the falling tower to save her friends. But here's where AOT revealed the future. After Ymir jumps onto the falling tower, the camera cuts to Historia and the others' faces so we can see their reaction. If you look at Bertholdt, you'll see that he is holding his hand in front of his face and about to bite it. Bertholdt really thought he was going to die and was willing to reveal his secret identity in order to save his own life. But this isn't the only time the anime subtly foreshadowed that Bertholdt was a Titan shifter. You see, at this point, I wanted to find the biggest, baddest secret in all of AOT. So I started digging. I read fan theories, all while watching episodes over and over again, and that's how I found this moment. You see, I was watching episode 3, Eren, Mikasa, and Armin had just become military recruits, and everybody else was quizzing them on what it was like to have seen Titans up close. The other recruits pestered Eren with questions about the appearance of the Titans, and while he was talking, I noticed something a little suspicious. Eren was explaining what the Titans looked like, but the camera cut to show both Bertholdt and Reiner. I almost missed it because the animation for them in this scene is pretty garbage, and Bertholdt is completely unrecognizable. An even crazier revelation you definitely missed was right after Eren defeated the female Titan. Full of rage, Eren yells out something. And let me be clear, Eren yelling isn't out of the ordinary. It's what he says that is so shocking once you rewatch it. That's right, Eren says that he's going to destroy the whole world. If you're watching AOT for the first time, of course you wouldn't get this reference. But if you've already watched the anime, you know this points to a very dark and all too real ending much later in the show. Speaking of dark moments, I was completely devastated when this scene happened. In episode 17 of the anime, it looks like Reiner is crushed in the female Titan's hand. Seconds later, Reiner uses his blades to cut through her hand and escapes like an absolute beast. A detail that nobody noticed during his escape is how there were bits of steam surrounding his body the entire time. This was a clear foreshadowing to his Titan shifter abilities to regenerate with steam when injured. But if you're like most people, your answer to this is something like, dude, that steam is from when he cut the female Titan's fingers. So let's go back a few seconds to an even crazier example of foreshadowing. When Reiner was in the female Titan's hand, she began squeezing him, and it looks like Reiner is in extreme pain. But if you look closely, you can see him wink and then gesture his hand in the direction of Eren. Okay, picture this. It's a couple years back, you've just started watching AOT, and the very first episode cuts to Eren sleeping in a beautiful meadow. But Eren isn't actually sleeping peacefully. He's having a nightmare. The anime shows you some of the scenes he's dreaming, but they don't really make sense to you. You see, Eren's nightmare was actually just the show foreshadowing the future of the anime.
I can see the future!
Let me explain. In his nightmare, Eren sees many things that come true within the near future. One part shows Survey Corps members dead on the ground. These were casualties of the attempts to capture the female Titan. Another part of the nightmare shows a woman being lifted from some rubble by a Titan. This woman turns out to be Eren's mom later in episode 1. But unlike Eren's mom, the next scene will live on as a moment where Titan shifters were subtly revealed in the show. For example, when the new recruits had to figure out which military brand they'd join, the anime did something a bit interesting. Each recruit was shown taking a deep breath and thinking very deeply about what to do. The anime showed each of the recruits' thought process for what branch they should join. If you look back, only Reiner, Bertholdt, Annie, and Ymir's thought process weren't included because they were all Titans. Showing their thought process would have revealed their true reasons for joining the military. I was talking to my absolute nerd of an anime friend last week, and they exposed something that kind of shocked me. You see, the opening and ending scenes of AOT are actually kind of famous for revealing the future of the anime. The season 2 end credits are the best example of this. The credits show a specific scene where there are a couple of huge Titans wandering around a barren wasteland. This is a foreshadowing to the rumbling, which happens nearly 42 chapters later. This is the Crystal Cave. When Eren was captured by Rod Reese and ended up chained here, he said something interesting.
There's something else about this place. It feels familiar somehow. have I been here?
When I heard him say this, I was confused because I didn't remember it being mentioned earlier in the series. It turns out that Eren didn't say this because he was dazed or messed up in the head. In season 4, it's revealed that Eren went back in time and convinced his father to kill the entire Reese family here in order to obtain the power of the founding Titan. The creepiest Titan in all of AOT is probably this one. What makes everything weirder is how the Smiling Titan seems to only target Eren's loved ones. But there's a reason for this. In chapter 139 of the manga, Eren reveals to Armin that he used his founding Titan powers to mess with the Smiling Titan's head and make it target his mother. But what viewers back then couldn't have known was that the Smiling Titan was actually about to eat Bertholdt. Eren knew that Bertholdt was essential to the future of the war and had the Smiling Titan eat his mother instead. The death of his mother caused Eren's hatred against the Titans and ultimately helped him achieve his goals.
Every last one.
Here's one of the more popular examples of foreshadowing in AOT. When AOT first started as an anime in 2013, nobody really thought twice about the title of the first episode, To You, 2,000 Years From Now. Some of the fans did try to figure out what it meant, but nothing official was ever figured out. In season 4, an episode came out called From You, 2,000 Years Ago. The connection between these two titles is pretty simple. The title of the first episode is simply pointing at how Ymir waited 2,000 years for Eren to free her from her enslavement. You see, during her entire existence, Ymir suffered as a slave. She chose Eren Yeager to carry the burden of her pain because only he could understand everything she had been through. Together, they decided that the only way to end the Titan cycle of violence would be world annihilation. The episode called From You, 2,000 Years Ago is basically Eren realizing that Ymir led him to her. But Ymir's slavery isn't the biggest theme in the show. The idea of freedom is. Throughout the show, birds are shown flying around as examples of Eren's desire for freedom. The birds are also shown soaring very high up in the sky to show just how impossible Eren's true goals actually were. But as Mikasa is mourning at Eren's grave, a gentle dove flies down and comforts her. This is a beautiful example of how AOT foreshadowed the future of the anime way back in season 1. Here's a rule you should always follow when watching an anime. Don't skip the end credits. In season 3 of AOT, the end credits basically reveal the most important parts of Historia's life. You can see her love for Frida Reese and Ymir, her relationship to Eren, and much more. But the most important thing you see in the end credits is just how similar her life is to the founder Ymir. Just like Ymir, Historia suffered at the hands of others. Just like Ymir, Historia loved somebody with all of her heart. This end credits scene is called Requiem der Morgenrot, which stands for Remembrance of the Dawn. In other words, it shows how Historia's life parallels Ymir's. If you stopped watching the anime after season 1, you would think Historia was just a cute side character. In reality, she is basically reliving Ymir's life all over again. Just like Ymir, Historia eventually becomes the queen of the Eldians and has children in order to pass on her royal genetics. But the show also had another instance where they revealed the true identities of Reiner and Bertholdt. At one point, Connie asks Bertholdt about Reiner's personality. Bertholdt answers that Reiner isn't just a soldier, he's actually a warrior. Honestly, I initially brushed this off as nothing, but looking back, I realized this was a reference to Marley's warrior program. Eldians created soldiers to fight the Titans, while Marley had a warrior program to train future Titan shifters. But foreshadowing isn't the only thing I noticed in the anime. I also discovered a couple of pretty big plot holes. Click this video right here to see the craziest plot holes in AOT.